Hola, 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 hola. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for staying connected. Thank you all for being an inspiration to me, especially for those who have been privately messaging me to say, keep up the good work. Thank you for doing what you do, for what you are called to do. I want to thank you all for your words of encouragement. They are a blessing to me in the very same the podcasts that I do week after week, you know, in the very same it encourages individuals. When individuals send me a comment, leave me a comment or a private message to say, it's been a blessing watching the podcast streams, or it's been a blessing, what you do and staying committed to what you do. I thank you all, and thank you for those who have stayed connected from the conception of this live podcast. And for those who watch on the rebound, who may not be able to join live week after week or whenever the streams are done live, I thank you in the very same for watching on the rebound. I appreciate you all. And today I'm gonna be short and sweet. Very short and sweet, I promise. And so today I'm gonna be talking about who is in your circle. Who is in your circle has been inspired by the story of Daniel in the book of Daniel from the Bible. A lot of us may be familiar with that story where Daniel was placed in the lion's den. Now, we're familiar with, a lot of us may be familiar with the story because, especially here in Jamaica, a lot of us grew up in the Christian culture where we have been taught from basic level or kinder level at Bible school about the story of Daniel. So a lot of us may have been familiar with that story from us that young, and can recall that story. All right, so that's the purpose or the reason for this one. Yeah, and who is in your circle will be based, as I made mention, on the story of Daniel, which is from Daniel chapter 6, right? And I want to continue by saying that at some point in our lives, we are assigned to a group, yeah? At some point in our lives, we are assigned to a group. And we are assigned as the leader of the group, perhaps, sometimes. And sometimes we may not have been directly assigned as the leader of the group, but we may take it on upon ourselves to be the leader. And this may be because of the innate qualities that we possess. We possess certain characteristics that points to the leader in us, and therefore we automatically or instinctively take on the leadership role, being the head of a group. Yeah? And we may be a part of a group or assigned to a group at our workplace and space, or at school, at church, in our community, in our family even, for different purposes. So there are different purposes or different reasons why we are a part of a group. And I guess I'm going to be using group interchangeably with the word circle. Yeah? And being in a group, we form groups for different reasons. We have primary groups and we have secondary groups. Now, primary groups are groups that are formed or we are a part of from birth. So that would mean our mother or father or sister or brother or grandma or grandpa, stuff like that, persons like that, we are a part of a group primarily from birth. And secondary groups refers to the, like when we start going to school, we reach at a certain age when we start going to school, we start going to church, and we start becoming a part of other groups, yeah? And when we do that, the primary groups may be, as I made mention, like school. You know, we form groups at school, we form groups at churches, we form groups at our workplaces, we form groups at our community centers and stuff like that. And both primary and secondary groups serve a purpose. They have a purpose, they have their place, and they are there for a reason. So it is automatic almost that we find ourselves in a group, being in a group. And as I started off by saying, sometimes we are assigned as the leader of that group, or we may, you know, take it upon ourselves to be the leader without even saying, hey, I am the leader of a group. Yeah? And I want to say that there are certain qualities that I possess rather, and I learned this a couple of years ago when I did a course at the UA campus. UA, I think it was what? UA Mona campus. I think that, I don't remember if that's the correct name. That's the one that is on South Camp Road, right here in Jamaica. And I did a course there, a supervisor management course there. And when I did the course, I was assigned as the leader by my group members. And I was a little bit taken aback. I was like, okay, I don't think I want to be the leader of the group, because I'm struggling with what I was thinking in my mind. I was struggling to understand some areas of the coursework. I think I was having challenges. I think, just like everybody else, I guess, as well as I think that my team members had an advantage, whereby, because they were, most of them, if not all of them, were actually functioning in supervisory positions. Now, I am a nail technician presently, and just imagine the thought that I was having. Being a nail technician, I'm just, you know, a nail technician, a person who does my clients' nails to the best of my ability, make suggestions and stuff like that, and, you know, aim for the best result. But I thought that they, being or functioning as supervisors, they understood the thing because they were walking in it, they were acting it out, they were doing it. So I found it a little bit challenging. I think I was saying that to myself, that, wow, they have an advantage in my mind. But little did I pay attention to that there were some qualities, or there are some qualities that I possess that I wasn't even fully aware of until I became a part of that group, or a part of that circle, right? And so my team members, you know, decided, hey, Aura, you're going to be our leader. And I was like, okay. Eventually I said, all right, fine. And years later, for some reason or another, someone, I think, posed a question to me that was very thought-provoking, to, you know, getting to know more about who I am a few years ago. And so I decided to check in with these past team members and to say, hey, why did you choose me as the team leader? Why? Because it's almost as if it seemed as if I still was not so sure, or maybe I knew, or I recognized there was something, but maybe it is that I needed some validation or something, I don't know. But I checked in with every one of them and asked, why did you choose me to be the leader? And what they all basically was saying was that You have the leadership qualities. You include everyone. You um, you work. You encourage us and inspire us to work together as a team. You delegate assignments or responsibilities uh, thoughtfully and carefully and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, okay, wow. And so those qualities, they're innate, but it's almost as if I was just not yet fully aware of it until then when I did that course. And fast forward to being a student again at the UWI Mona campus and being a part of a group again, you know, it happened automatically. And somewhere along the lines, a team member, when I was having a conversation with a team member, the team member said, you know, they have not done much because the two leaders seem to be taking, you know, the bull by the horn. And I knew what he was saying, but I wanted to hear it from him directly. Like, I was like, there are no leaders. There are no group leaders. Who are they? What are you talking about? And he said, yourself and the other team member who was taking the bull by the horn. I was fully aware, but just wanted to hear exactly what he meant by what he was saying. And our conversation proceeded, you know, and stuff like that. Now, I say all of that and went into that story just to drive home this message today, to say that again, sometimes we're assigned to a group. And in the very same as Daniel was assigned to be the head of his group, he was assigned by King Darius, and King Darius said that he would be the first in command, and he would be the first that the princes might give accounts unto, right? Or and stuff like that. Yeah? No, this was so because of the exemplary leader that Daniel was. You too may have been chosen because of your authentic character. You may too have been chosen because of your diligence. You may too have been chosen because of the excellent spirit in which you work from. But also, Daniel was favored by the king to be the top of the rank of the princes and presidents. However, his qualities attracted some enemies. These enemies were the very same members who were a part of his circle or a part of his group. Now, with this story, Daniel was an exemplary leader, as made mention, and he was chosen by King Darius because he worked or he had an excellent spirit. So there was nothing faulty, is what this is all saying about Daniel. There was nothing, he was not lazy, he was not lacking or slacking in his work, in his duties, in his responsibilities, in the way he went about doing his thing. And some of you too, you may be leaders and you may be diligent, you may be hardworking, you may be honest, you may be loyal, you may be faithful, you may be all these things just like Daniel. And you may even be at work on time. And so Your fellow team members or even your boss may not be able to find any fault with you because of how consistent you have been in all your endeavors. Yeah? But the thing with Daniel, though, is that even though his team members, his group members, or those who were in his circle could not find any fault in him, similarly to Jesus, when the people could not find any fault with him, and so uh, to crucify him, and so Pilate had to just wash his hands clean. I believe it was Pilate. Yes, I believe it was Pilate who washed his hands clean because they just could not find any fault. Like, why should we crucify this man? What sin has he committed? What has he done? Why you want to crucify him? Why you want to, just be done away with him? In the very same, these other men who were in the very same circle that Daniel was in, they wanted to get rid of Daniel. They wanted Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. But the reason for them wanting Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den, the king Darius had made a decree, and it was stated, the decree was stated that if they have found anyone who is worshipping another god other than their god, they're going to throw them in the lion's den, right? And the funny thing about this story is that Daniel was present when this decree was being made, yet still he did not petition his plea. He did not say to Pilate, listen, I pray, I love to pray, so therefore, I may be found guilty of this, so please do not make such a decree. But he didn't do that. The decree was made, it was signed, and it was sealed. And after all was said and done, Daniel went away and prayed. And these men who were also part of the group, they found Daniel praying. So seeing that they couldn't find anything else faulty with him, they saw that he was praying and decided, this is a reason for us to target this man. We're going to target him, and we're going to bring his case before the king and remind the king of the decree that was made, that was signed, and that was sealed. Should we find anyone praying to another god, we're going to cast him into the lion's den. So they did that. And reminded the king. The king did not really want to do it, but because of his word that was written, that was sealed, that was stated, that was signed, it's almost as if the king cannot go back on his word. If he has said it, it is done. If he has written it, then it is done, signed and sealed. Not even he himself can reverse that which was written. And so he had no choice but to cast Daniel in the lion's den. Yeah? And while Daniel was in the lion's den, the angel of the Lord visited him. The angel of the Lord shut the mouth of the lion, and so the lion could not eat up his flesh. The lion could not eat up his flesh. But when Darius went to visit him, as a matter of fact, before Darius went to visit him the next morning, in the very night that he was cast into the lion's den, Darius could not sleep. The pleasures that he, the king, would indulge in that night, he could not even partake of them. That's because I believe his conscience was being bothered, because there was no true or false finding in Daniel, because he knew Daniel was an excellent man. He knew Daniel was a man of honor. And so he could not find anything himself really to cast him away for, but because of the decree that was already written, he had to honor his word. But it did not please him. He was not settled in himself in what was done. And so the next morning he went to visit Daniel to see if Daniel had survived the lion. And yes, he did survive the lions. And he was set free. Long story that has been made short. The men who were in his circle, they and their families were in turn cast into the lion's den and was eaten, because Darius recognized that this man Daniel was not just a man who had an excellent spirit, but he was an honorable man. He was a man of God who believed in our God, who works miracles, signs, and wonders, who delivers, saves, and set free. And he recognized that there has to be something other than just an excellent spirit that this man possesses that causes his God to come to deliver him, to send help, and to break him free, to shut the mouth of the lion's den. I am here to say to you that as a leader, sometimes you're gonna be chastised. Sometimes those in the very circle that you are in, they're gonna seek to bruise your heel. They're gonna seek to spoil your reputation, as we would say in Jamaican terms. They may seek to tarnish your character. They may seek to bring hurt. They may try to take away or to seize that which gives you power, true power. But what they will not be able to truly do, they may try, but they won't be able to shut you up, because God will shut the lion's mouth. So they thought, the men in his circle thought, that they could have him placed in the lion's den so that he would be shut out and forgotten about forever. But that was not the case. So I'm here to let you know that as a leader, opposition may come. There are those who may be a part of your circle or in your group that may think that they should have been given the position. They may think that they should have been assigned the new position. They may think that they should have been given the bonus. They may think that they should have been given the raise of pay. They may think that they should have been given the incentive. They may think that they should have been the one to be given the additional benefits. But because of how diligent you are, you have been favored. Because you have been consistent, you have been favored. Because of the genuine character that which you possess, you have been favored. Sometimes the enemy, sometimes those who are in your circle may not be able to see what you have, or sometimes they may see it, but because of jealousy, because of them lacking and slacking, because of them being loathsome, because of them being that kind of an individual, they may think they deserve it, but truth be told, they have not been doing the work. They have not been putting in the work. They have not been putting in the time. Yeah? And excuse me, there are different stages of development, and I've already pretty much passed this part already. But just to say that there are a few stages of development, and we see that the first stage took place, and this was the forming. And the forming part of this of the forming stage of the grouping or of the circle was that the king had assigned who was to be a part of this circle, who was supposed to be a part of this group, right? The second stage is that this is called the storming stage, and this is where uh, tasks and responsibilities are defined, and people's patience, you know, tend to break, and confrontation sometimes happens. Yeah. So the king had assigned the responsibilities because he stated that Daniel would have been the first of the three to be the top ranking and what they would be responsible for. But also we saw that shortly after, the other men, they had an issue with Daniel. Yeah. You have uh, the norming stage, the performing stage, and the adjourning stage. No, based on what was stated in Daniel chapter 6, I think, or I believe, it was just the two first stages that was able to be executed. Meaning, if we look at the physical forming of the group, because they were not able to carry out the functions together as a group, as a team, because they had an issue with Daniel. They wanted to get rid of him, so therefore they were not able to come together to do the work that they were assigned to do, to ensure that they achieve their end goal, and to also ensure that everything is completed and there is a sense of relief for them all. They did not get to that point. So what happened is that we see later in the scriptures where they and their families were cast into the lion's den. And so Daniel still was able to carry out his functions thereafter. So the point is, I'm closing on in here, is that sometimes you may be in a circle of individuals who may not wish you well. They may not desire to see you accomplish your end goal, whether it be as a team or as a team. So it would then sometimes mean that you need to do some assessment. So in doing your assessment, there are some questions that you would like to, or you should ask yourself. One of the questions you could ask yourself is, how are they of support? Are they encouraging? Are they cheering you on? Are they rejoicing with you when you get to the next level? Are they imparting knowledge or wisdom? Are they helping to guide you? Because though you are a leader, we do need the input of our team members. Because sometimes too, as leaders, although we may have an idea of what it is that we're supposed to do, hearing the opinions or the valid points of team members, sometimes it does add value to the objective. So sometimes we need that too. You may also need to ask yourself the question, the qualities that which you possess, are you aware of them? Have you fully grabbed a hold of them? Have you been using those qualities to execute the mission as a leader? Are they speaking life to you, those who are in your circle, or do they wish to see you perish? You have to ask yourself these questions. Are they edifying you, or are they connecting you to the right people? Are they helping you to get to your destiny? You have to ask yourself these questions. These questions are very important, because if you are not able to identify with these questions, then there may be a big threat to your leadership role. Maybe, yeah? And so I encourage you today that though you may be in a circle or a part of a circle, a group or a team, remember opposition may come, but it does not mean that opposition will end or can end or terminate your destiny. Yeah? And also, I want you to know too that though opposition come, opposition serve and does have a purpose. It's not all bad. It serves a purpose too. And this is also something that happens sometimes to see what the condition or the nature of our heart is. If we will forgive those who have opposed us, who wish to see us perish, and to see if we will allow the opposition to cause us to cease and desist from the true purpose of which God has called us to do and to be. So I encourage you today to assess your circle, evaluate, and see if the qualities or the characteristics within your circle or your team members or your group members, if their qualities are qualities that will get you to your destination or help you to get to your destination, or if it is one of such that will instead try to terminate your purpose. I love you, but God loves you more. Have yourself a great weekend and a fabulous